Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2:30 p.m. Public Works Committee meeting. I know it looks like nobody's here.
Hey.
I promise I don't have cooties up here at the front. Yeah, I heard that. But I told her to shut up, right? So I call this meeting to order. Item agenda number 2, Tennille Bent, appointment to the Tulsa Women's Commission, filling an open seat. Term expires May 31st, 2028, out of Council District 9. Would you like to come up, please?
It's a different color.
Yes, have a seat up here. I promise I won't spread any council cooties on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you get a bad seat?
It's okay, no,
Okay.
it's stable.
Okay.
Just don't move quickly.
Okay, I will just,
It'll kill you if
Okay.
you go quickly.
You poor thing, you got the bad chair.
y'all didn't tell me.
You can tell we're fiscally responsible because we have bad chairs that we haven't replaced.
Yes.
Good point.
We don't take them out of the room, we just push them away from ourselves.
And I chose it.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
I'm a
Tennille.
risk taker, you
Okay.
see.
Love it. So happy to have you
I'm glad to be
serving
here.
on the Tulsa Women's Commission. Tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Thank you. Well, I'm grateful to be here. My name's Tennille Bent. I am almost fully raised in Tulsa, but came here as a very little girl from Jamaica and was raised out in Broken Arrow. Am lifelong educated here, had every chance to leave, but stayed and went to the University of Tulsa, OU Schusterman, and now am at OSU completing my doctorate. So you can see that, I am invested and thought I would do everything but be here at this stage of life. So very grateful to see the evolution of this city.
I love that. Tell us your Tulsa Women's Commission appointment, if you have any particular goals that you'd like to accomplish for the commission.
Sure. I've certainly seen the dedication to empowerment for women in economics, the focus on mental health and trauma, all of which are very important to me. One of the things that I'm thinking also about is as a woman who is maturing, right, those air quotes, I got a little more silver around the fringe, there's often an ability for us to be erased, silenced, minimized, not seen. And I think about that more and more every day as I have crowned 50. Okay, so I think about women in midlife and just am kind of focused on some work for us and what our needs are in a more pronounced way. But again, the focus of the committee is already very important to me.
I love that. Thank you. I share the,
I know, our wisdom's
Yeah.
working over here.
yeah. We share that
Wisdom
50 plus. Can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Lori, Counselor Dr. Wright,
Oh,
sorry.
yes. Thank you for uplifting that lens. In our last meeting, we met with the Family Safety Center, and Suzanne Stewart had shared that senior women specifically are hard to house right now when they need emergency services. So that just came to our table less than 2 hours ago. So that is not, it made sense as soon as she said it, but it's not even anything that I had particularly heard until she said it. So I think the Women's Commission is a great place to have these conversations. They've been very focused on childcare and things like that, which is super important, and things that we're working on the policy side, advocating at the state level, but also even at our table. So it's kind of where these commissions can kind of do the deep dive and then come back to us. So I'll let Councilor Bella say what she always says to commissioners, but I was just, the policy light bulb went on when you said that.
If I could just say one thing, one of the things that I've learned, I work for Family and Children's Services, and I lead our equity work there, but I've learned about the increased number of seniors that are unhoused, and that was eye-opening for me. So just to double click on what you're sharing.
Yeah, unseen, right? Yeah.
Oh, the thing I always say, what if I wasn't going to do it this time?
I was gonna let you do
it. No, if you have policy recommendations, please just tell us. Sometimes people wait for the whole commission to reach consensus and vote, but maybe if it's a more urgent or even just an obvious matter, like please don't hesitate to go, hey, I should update a policy.
Thank you.
Please don't be shy about that.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it. I know that the age bracket between 50 and 65 for women is really definitely one of those overlooked generations, I suppose, in that you're not quite senior, but you are senior, and you're
Right.
not quite eligible for Medicare. And so there's that,
You're raising kids and your parents.
and your parents, that's right. And, maybe you're finding yourself
Looking
in a
after them.
divorce situation
Yeah.
without an official income. I mean, there's all these extenuating circumstances that can happen to women over 50. So I appreciate that.
Thank
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, moving on to item agenda 3.
Oh, wait, you forgot to tell her.
Oh, I do that every meeting.
Oh, yes, sir.
So we are going to be on the 22nd of October at the 5 PM meeting. We will be recognizing your appointment. and
Voting officially.
Voted, yes, and you're free to come and have a word and share your
But you're not
thoughts.
required to.
But you're not required, yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Counselor. Appreciate that. I have to really highlight that every time yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, resolution amending portions of the previously adopted Perryman Ditch Master Drainage Plan and the City of Tulsa Regulatory Floodplain and Drainage Sensitive Areas maps, panels 46, 47, 51, and 52. The corrected maps are adopted as the official City of Tulsa Regulatory Floodplain and Drainage Sensitive Areas maps for the part of Tulsa County lying within the City of Tulsa city limits. The maps available in electronic atlas form are made part hereof, superseding the previous regulatory floodplain and drainage sensitive areas maps that were adopted on August 4th of 2024, providing that copies of said maps may be filed and kept in the office of the city clerk. Do we have any? Oh,
Good
there you are.
afternoon.
Hi.
Joan Gosvick with Water and Sewer Department. I have larger versions if anyone would like to look at one that might be.
It's my district.
It is the same.
Yeah, I wanna see what she's crying about over
What I'm crying about is this whole thing is flooded. That's what I'm crying
here. I just
about.
wanna see a graphic representation
Okay.
of it.
Thank you. Good thing Counselor Lakin's in
Her arm's not that
exactly.
long. Her arm is not that long.
He's been on too many trips with me. That's all I complain about.
Okay, so the resolution that we have today is after we completed the master drainage plan and after we adopted the maps for the drainage sensitive area, our technical consultant realized that some areas were mapped that did not have a 40-acre drainage area. So per Title 11A, when we map the City of Tulsa regulatory floodplain, we don't map anything that has less than 40 acres. So the corrections to the map today, and there are the areas on this map shown in the kind of reddish, the shaded reddish color, are removed from the map. So there's
Each shaded red?
Yes,
Each shaded
the-
red.
both.
Okay.
And they're removed, why again?
They're removed because the area that drains to them is less than 40 acres. So they will no longer be part of the drainage sensitive area. And actually, this revision removes 29 structures from the city regulatory floodplain. It removes 32 structures from the requirements for drainage sensitive area. And it removes, it adds 6 less. So, we had, so that's probably, we're removing structures. So we removed 29 from the City of Tulsa regulatory floodplain and 32 from the drainage sensitive area. The difference between the two is the regulatory floodplain has the requirements for substantial improvement. So if you invest more than 50% in a structure, you're not allowed to invest more than 50% in the structure. Drainage sensitive area has pretty much all the same development requirements, except that we removed the requirement for substantial improvement. So you can make larger, existing businesses can make larger investments, being designated as a drainage
the
sensitive
lower
area.
threshold.
Right. And then the master drainage plan for Perryman Ditch also modeled the depths of flooding much more precisely. So where the old plan and the old rules had said 3 foot or less for kind of the ponding during storm events, is the modeling was more precise for the 100-year flood, and then when you have to build 1 foot above the the base flood elevation, we can do that more precisely. If it's 6 inches of water, you would be required to build 18 inches above, as opposed to if we said it was less than 3 foot, you would have to build 4 foot above. So that was some of the changes that were made when the drainage-sensitive area was developed to facilitate more investment in the Brookside area.
Thank you for that presentation. Do I have any questions, comments? No? Alrighty.
Are you twitching over there?
Yeah, I just.
I
leave me
cannot
alone.
do anything to keep
I
it
know.
from raining.
It's not that.
I do have
Trust
one
me.
quick question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this box where the old Camelot used to be, so the whole box is gone? So it's 51st, it's Skelly and
Yes, sir.
Peoria. Okay, so the whole box is gone, but if the whole box is gone, why do we have red in that box too? Those red lane miles, those roadways?
Well, because the red was drainage-sensitive area boundary that was originally submitted, and the shaded red was a Atlas panel that was included.
Okay,
So now this
So
Atlas
all-
panel's not included, and any of these red areas
Okay.
are removed.
okay.
And just the blue will be left and the green.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Even though they're not on the map anymore, so it sounds like we're taking the regulations out, but do they still flood?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to walk on their floors? Would you
I mean,
like to
that's-
hear everything that's going on? It's been terrible.
So
They're
does this
flooded
get,
right now.
does this get closer to solving that problem though? Because then they can do these improvements, or I'm just trying to understand. Like, I understand what we're doing here,
Yeah.
for practicality's sake, in citizens' investments and or lives. What does this mean for those folks? Does it change like the insurance stuff, or?
It will
Change
change
the
their
insurance.
insurance.
It will do
It will, if they're not in a regulatory floodplain, they can still purchase flood insurance. They can still get the City of Tulsa's Class 1 45% discount. But they will be rated, their risk will be lower because they're not in that 100-year floodplain.
They're not in the map.
But 100-year floodplains or 100-year drainage-sensitive areas are based on kind of one storm event.
Sure.
You know, so what happens in a particular storm is it can rain harder, faster, more frequently than the 100-year event. So just being outside a 100-year floodplain doesn't mean you won't flood.
Sure, no, I understand that, and we
Get
all
that,
lived
we
through
get that.
2019
Oh,
when it was
yeah.
a 500-year flood. I was just
Yeah,
trying to
no,
pick
I
up
know.
on what my colleague here is,
And there probably
needing to
are-
serve people.
And this master drainage plan probably identified a lot of projects relative to the, making improvements that are now in the CIP inventory for stormwater. But our current CIP inventory of projects to address problem areas is about $2.4 billion.
Correct. That's what I
And-
keep saying.
And we have $5 to $10 million a year to invest. So only unless
Plus, we
there's.
need to remove about 100 homes in order to create holding ponds for the Perryman ditch not to flood out everybody downstream. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I was wondering how many reservoirs.
You need 56 in Patrick Henry.
Well, I'm wondering how many
Underground.
are actually existing in this
56
area.
houses would have to be removed.
But I mean, is that to put underground, like cisterns?
Yeah, and ponds, holding ponds.
Yeah, whether it's
So
in
do you
above
have
ground
any
storage
ponds
or
over there
the.
already?
Huh?
Are there ponds?
No.
Are there a number of ponds at all?
No.
No.
Okay.
But I just remember a few years ago when we had this conversation about the Pearl, when Councilor McKee was here, there was
I don't get me started.
discussions about
But that, I'll be back
Underground.
in a while about that, 'cause we're.
like
Well,
new
the-
technology, it goes underground, so you're not having to tear down houses.
That probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't
it's
do that
okay.
at the city of Tulsa. I
Doesn't
know.
mean we can't.
That's true.
That's why people like us get to have these conversations.
That's right.
I mean, we
I
have,
keep having these conversations.
Yeah.
we have done quite a few grant projects when there's been grant funding available, or we've done voluntary acquisitions of
Yeah.
properties that have been identified during various master drainage plans. But right now, there's just not very much grant funding available for
And we
those
lost the
types of
brick.
projects.
I know, and we lost the brick.
Yeah.
So, here we are. Anyway, it's not your fault, Joan. It's just frustrating.
I can understand that it's frustrating.
I've got 10 emails today on this. The Perryman ditch. Never ends.
Maybe we can have, like golf architecture style and go up. It'll be a new featured architectural style.
You
in
come to the
Tulsa.
next neighborhood meeting.
Well, I have some regulatory
Yeah.
stuff in my district too.
Yeah, and then we've done a task force and, continue to talk about what it takes when, one neighbor develops and does something in their yard and pushes their water on their neighbors and, is
There's
there,
another swimming
Is that-
pool with
I
somebody.
know.
every swimming pool, every driveway, every piece of concrete, takes away from the natural function.
My favorite is the one we approved that was a flat house that shoots water out of its spouts directly into the yard behind it, and it has currently a foot of standing water.
Oh, God.
When's the last time we had rain? Uh-huh.
It currently has water?
Take you there right now. Bring your boots.
That's flipping.
I know.
All right.
It's crazy.
Well,
Move on.
thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions?
There, Chris.
Alrighty, moving on to item
I
agenda
just wanted to
4.
representation that you
Ordinance
brought
amending
forward.
Title 37 Tulsa Revised Ordinances, Tulsa Revised Traffic Code by amending Chapter 14, Special Events, Section 1401. Definitions, amending Section 1405, Special Event Permit Application Procedure, amending Section 1406, Special Event Regulations, amending Section 1407, Cost recovery for special events, and amending Section 1410, City action on special event permit application, amending Title 49 Administrative Permit and License Fees, Chapter 10, Special Event Permit Fees by amending Section 1001, Minor Event Permit Fee, amending Section 1002, Major Event Permit Fee, and amending Section 1004, Film Permit Fee by renumering Section 1003 and Section 1004, and by adding a new Section 1003, Monthly Event Permit Fee. Brought to you by Councilor Hall Harper, Councilor Archie, Councilor Gilbert, and Council Bengal. How many times did I say that? It's a good thing this isn't a drinking game. My goodness. All righty, hi.
Hello.
Would you like to,
Actually, Chair, if you don't mind.
I don't.
Okay, good.
What if she said she did?
So over the past year and even before, with a different makeup of counselors, we had Counselor Q and Counselor Patrick. So they previously had been working on this working group. Counselor Hall Harper, which unfortunately she's not here. Counselor Archie and Counselor Gilbert joined this year. And we've continued working and discussing how we can address some of the ongoing challenges in our special events permitting process. And as I said, that's been an ongoing issue over the last few years. Today, we're here to share a set of recommendations that reflect those conversations. And before we dive in, we want to take a moment to thank all of the departments collaborating with us to help us develop these recommendations.
Yeah, and those include police, the special events office, permit center, say that 5 times quickly, fire, asset management, and public works. So we appreciate the collaboration with these department has been essential in helping us better understand the operational challenges and opportunities for improvements. And now I will turn it over to Danette and Marissa to walk us through our findings and recommendations.
Thanks, Counselor. Marissa Gomez, Council staff. I'm going to briefly walk us through the working group's goals and provide some background on some of the changes that we're proposing and what the background on changes that have been made to date. You might remember during the FY 25-26 budget process, the working group was already discussing some changes that they wanted to make to the ordinance. They were discussing a late application fee for event organizers to address the high volume of late submissions and to encourage more timely permit applications. And they wanted to do that by reducing last-minute operation, or to reduce last-minute operational strain, to improve planning timelines and minimize reactive coordination. So I know you've probably seen like agendas that have been filed, or event applications that have made it to your agendas late. Just a lot of last-minute planning between Skipper and Lieutenant Honer with the police department. So that's what these address. We wanted to improve interdepartmental coordination to support consistency and cost recovery for other departments working special events. In June, when you all passed the budget, you voted to increase the fees for police and fire, but there were other departments that also had fees that related to special events, and we didn't increase those back then, just because they weren't proposed. Those fee increases came from police and their budget proposal, so going in and making those changes now. And then another goal is to ensure adequate public safety planning, to allow sufficient lead time for police and fire and other departments to prepare and staff events appropriately, and also give you all as a council time to review applications that come before you during the 5 o'clock meetings. So I collected, with the help of Development Services, some data for you all to review. In 2024, we received 286 applications that were submitted to the Permit Center. 244 were major event applications and 42 were minor event applications. Of those, 249, which is 87%, were submitted late by the event organizers to the Development Services Permit Center. 214 were major, 35 were minor applications, and then 272 of the 286 permits that were issued 10 days or fewer before the actual event started. So that's 231 major events and 41 minor permits. So these are some of the numbers that highlight a consistent pattern of like late submissions and last minute approvals by you all, which really places a significant strain on staff and limits the ability to plan for public safety, traffic control, and some of that interdepartmental coordination that needs to take place in order for these events to actually happen. So some of the recommendations that we're making address some of the goals and challenges. I'll just start with the first one, the cost recovery fee adjustment. We're hoping this brings us closer to aligning fees with the actual cost of service delivery to ensure financial stability, or sustainability, sorry. We're proposing new late application fees, which we hope encourages timely submissions and reduces the administrative delays. A lot of the late applications that come in really disrupt like Skipper and his workflow and increases processing costs. And then the third one, we're also adjusting permit application submission deadlines to give event organizers more time to submit their applications on time and avoid paying those additional fees. So quickly, just the cost recovery fee adjustment. This aligns with the police and fire adjustments that were made back in June during the budget process. We're increasing the fees for public works traffic operations, and then City of Tulsa authorized personnel, and that includes like asset management that work the security from asset management that can be called on to work some of these special events. And we are proposing to increase all three of those from $30 to $45 an hour over the next 3 years, so it aligns with fire and police. And now I'm going to turn it over to Danette to kind of go over some of the event permit application recommendations and Skipper as well.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Danette Wills with Development Service Permit Center Manager. These are our event permit application recommendations for major event for public right-of-ways or combinations of public and private property The permit fee will not change. We are recommending changing the application deadline from 90 days to 60 days before the event. The additional fee is $200 if it's submitted less than 60 days. And then additional fee if it extends more than a month, we're asking for $150 additional fee. And then on the late approval requirement, if submitted less than 30 days, we're asking for the special event coordinator to be able to make that decision based off of resources to help with the event that they're requesting. On minor event, which will be private property only, the permit fee will be no change to that. The application deadline, we would like to move that from 45 days to 40 days before the event. And additional fee, $100 if it's submitted less than 40 days. And the same late approval required if submitted 20 days. And then on the monthly event, which is reoccurring at same location within a month on public and private property, the permit fee for that for private property is $80. There would be no change to that. In the public right-of-way, $242, and that would be no change. The application deadline, the private property, we're asking to move that from 45 days to 30 days before the event, and the public right-of-way, 90 days to 30 days before event. We're also asking for an additional fee of $100 if submitted less than 30 days. And late approval required if submitted 15 days, less than 15 days. Skipper will go over the other recommendations, which is the film and oversized loads.
As Skipper Baines, City Special Events Coordinator with the Development Services. The outdoor filming that blocks pedestrian or vehicle traffic uses intermittent traffic control, ITC, drones, uses public or private property, single or multiple dates and locations. The permit fees we're recommending when they're using private property be increased from $80 to $150, and if they're on the public right-of-ways, streets, sidewalks, etc., from $242 to $450. The application deadline would be decreased from 15 days to 10 days before the filming, and then if they submit it under the 10 days, it'd be additional $100, and then they would have a late approval required if approved under 5 days. Now, the oversized load transversing city streets, other than for house moving, there's no change in the fees, it's still 80. There's no change in the monthly, it's still 42. The only thing that's changed is we've changed the height requirements from 14 to 16, the width requirements from 14 to 16, the length requirements from 90 to 110, and the weight, 90,000 pounds, has no change.
So our next step, coordinating with communications to publicize the implementation date. What we would like to do is, I am in contact with communication. We would like to do like a coming soon type press release to the public, letting them know that we will be increasing the fees on January the 1st. We will also send a mass emails to all of our existing applicants that this change will be coming on January the 1st. And then we will also put this on the special event website, and also we can put it on Development Services website, what you need to know type thing, that this is coming soon, to let everyone know that these changes are coming into effect January the 1st. Also, we will report in the first quarter, or we can move it sooner than that in 2027 to give the numbers of have this increased or have it decreased, has the extra fee that we're asking, has it reduced them to submitting the application on time? Are we still kind of in the crunch that we're in now, having to submit they're submitting the application 20 days before the event, and so we can do a report to show that what has changed.
Any questions?
I have Counselor Lori Decker Wright first.
Thank you. Thanks to the team for working on this. I know it's started with Jeannie and other counselors who aren't here anymore, and then you all got it across the finish line. And thank you. I know many, many years in the budget process, we're always talking about, let's get Skipper more help. Question about the 5-day film thing. So obviously, event permits come before the council. If it's a 5-day lead or even 10 days, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it gets on an agenda. So is that just one of those after-action type deals where the event's taken place and then we're approving it?
No, the ordinance has films as administratively
Oh, okay,
approved.
so they don't come before us?
They don't come before you.
Well, whoever did that already thought of that answer that I just asked the question to.
So we just have road closures, right?
Yeah, but films do
And, like,
close
the-
roads.
Rolling.
Yeah, films do have road closing.
But we don't do
traffic
those
flow.
road closures.
No, you don't. Not,
It's a weird carve out. How are we gonna know when something cool's here? I'm just kidding.
well,
Yeah, let's put that
now
in the
you-
ordinance.
Now, you always, in the ordinance, you always get each application that's administratively approved, and this could be film permits. So all those go to the council aides, that then passes it on to you on any application, whether you see it or not. But there is street closures.
They don't
for
film in our district, counselor. That's what it is.
I mean, they'd be there forever if they did.
Well, and-
This is it.
They'd have to shut down 71st Street, and that would cause other problems.
Just widen the road.
And generally, films, they really don't know. I've already talked to the film office here in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They really don't know their schedule till about 2 weeks out. It was just impossible to get it on city council. So back in 2018, when we had made this ordinance, we came up with that it'd come to you, you know about it, it would be administratively approved through the special event committee.
I might have missed it, but how do these fees, the new proposed fees, like compare to peers? Close, or like Oklahoma City probably would be the closest.
Yeah, I checked with Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City is just now doing a film permit. They didn't have a film permit like we did, so they're just now looking at it, and I think there still may just be $100, but they are looking at other things to do, because in their special event permit, they add vendor fees, so they add another $150, depending on how many vendors there is, or add another $200, depending for more vendors. If there's 50 plus, they add another $300, so they're still working on that.
But even just any of the events, are we like in alignment with Oklahoma City on these fees for events?
I would say we're in alignment more with San Diego and Wichita.
Okay,
I checked with San Diego, Wichita, Fort Worth, and Oklahoma City.
okay.
Do you mean for like the permit fee that they pay
Yeah.
initially, or like the additional fee that is
Just
being
the
proposed?
cost of producing an event with the city of Tulsa being involved in your permitting.
Okay. It depends, like I've looked at other cities to see how we compare, and a lot of other cities base them off of like the anticipated event size, and ours isn't set up that way.
It's just
Like
flat rate.
I have not been able to find another city that just has a flat permit fee.
I mean, obviously, we have events annually that just happen in Tulsa. I think they will, but I'm thinking more about the events that have choices of where they can be. Is this going to be a determining factor or not? It seems like the highest cost I heard today was $450 or something, so probably not, but.
For film permits.
For film.
Right, but just in the whole package of what was presented today, that was the outsized highest dollar one. So,
And nothing changes otherwise, all the other
Yeah,
things are
so
the
it's-
same as they were, which is.
and less
good.
lead
That's
What we were
time,
talking about before.
and
yeah.
less lead time required, which
So,
is good.
By writing the Tulsa World Garden.
I'm looking at.
Did you get that, Kevin?
First paragraph.
He just gave you a good first sentence.
Kevin, the chair is writing your article, so just see him afterwards.
I'll send it to you.
He's gonna ghostwrite this one for you.
So I'm looking at New Mexico's film permitting fees as well, and we're kind of in line with them, except they actually go by the size of the crews. So they have a number, if it's 6 and below, then they base it lower, and 6 and above higher. So it's pretty comparable.
Okay.
I would think New Mexico being, another film capital, so. But of course Tulsa's first, so,
World class.
We've
Yeah,
got the
that's
Mother
right.
Road.
That's right. All righty, Counselor Lakin.
Will you go back one slide, whoever's driving the slides?
This one?
There you go. Yes, thank you, Marissa. So on that additional fee, if extended greater than a month for a major event, what does that mean? So if you have it set for September 1st and now you're gonna do it on October 15th, or not at all?
So say for instance, you do an event and it's extending a month, so you're gonna do an event for three months, but you're not going.
Like, what is that? What event is that?
Example, Winterfest. They're out there for about 3 months.
Okay, I got you.
And they're closing the streets down.
So you
for
just have
3
a
months.
few of these?
Yes.
Longer than a month?
That's probably the only one I can think of that goes over a month.
Okay. And then on the next slide, the one that we were just on, I could have started it this way. But on filming, so is it just one permit? How do they come in and get their permit? So if you're, I don't know, Lowdown or whatever, they're out filming in a whole bunch of places. They're driving the streets. They've got, a couple of cop cars in front of them and all the filming stuff, and then a couple of cop cars behind them. Are they doing that every time they're filming a new episode? Is it just one permit for a year?
We do one permit, and that's the reason we got in there the single or multiple dates and locations. We add that to the new ordinance. And the reason for again, for that cost increase is there's weather schedules and delays always. They have to revise their dates and times. And sometimes the producer will see something more interesting in Tulsa and say, that's not on the permit, can you add that? So what I've helped the producers do is they just email me and keep me in touch of the new location. So it adds more work for me to go ahead and add these locations to the file. I send them to the special events committee so they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that was the reason between the increases, because they're a more unique entity that does these different locations and schedules. Now, what they
But if I'm the producer for Lowdown, then all I need is one permit. And then whenever that series goes away, then the permit goes
Right.
away. Same thing on Outsider sequel or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that way,
Do you know something we don't
No,
know? Okay.
I don't. I was trying to think of what would be a great Outsider sequel. I don't know which character.
The
you would pick.
Insiders.
Yeah, the insiders.
it's like Tulsa King.
Socias only.
They all get married and then it's
That's
like
what they
their
should do,
insiders.
prequels.
Or
This is
like-
what happened with Bob and the Socias, and this is what
Or
happened.
they're all
with the
grown up
producers.
now and it's the 80s.
We're gonna
I was in the
let
outside.
the elder know about these ideas.
And they think we're not creative at council
Trying to be
meetings.
a playwright now.
Well, we know Christian Beckle's an artist.
Okay. I think that's it. Can you go back one slide one more time, just make sure I don't have anything else?
Sure.
No, that's good. Okay.
All righty. Anybody else?
Oh, just as a curiosity related to the piece about, hey, it rolls out, this date, I appreciate that it gives you guys some lead time. What does it look like, are you all, since there's those events that happen every year, is there a certain way you're communicating to those folks? Like, sorry if I missed, how we're proactively letting people know about the changes more?
Danette and her team are planning to email all of the
All of
event
it.
organizers who's ever
Ever
submitted.
filed anything? Okay.
Yes.
Because I know that was something that's come up at the table before, like some of them were like, hey, I'm, have my costs down to granular detail, they don't,
Yeah.
not that this should catch anyone super off guard, and some of this obviously also incentivizes people doing things in a timely way, so that's exciting.
And obviously, if they have, I'm not saying that they have, because based on the numbers, not a lot of people submit their applications on time, but if they've done it the right way, they should have already, like if they're planning an event for 6 months from now, they should have already paid the event fee that's current. So if you submit an application before January 1, it should be fine. You should still pay what you're paying now.
Okay. Oh, that
Not
makes sense,
having
so you're like
additional-
grandfathered
yeah,
into
yeah.
the, okay,
Yeah, it wouldn't start to January 26, 26.
okay.
Alrighty, is that it? All right, thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Skipper.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
moving on,
Marissa.
moving on to item agenda 5.
Good job, you guys.
Discussion with representatives from the city of Tulsa regarding fiscal health of the city of Tulsa, the use of fund balance in the city's budget process, and an overview of local and state level controls to ensure financial stability. Counselor Bellis and Counselor Dr. Wright brought this.
Yeah, we could offer some quick context, which just so you all know, the auditor had planned to be here, but isn't feeling well, and we appreciate him keeping his germs at home. But we're really grateful that Christy's here to kind of provide some more detail. As you all may have noticed, after that auditor presentation, maybe a week or two ago, where he talked about that, like kind of those $15 million, a lot of the headlines, I think, were a bit misleading. I don't think intentionally, I just think budgets are complex, but it made it seem like there was either something irresponsible or inaccurate happening in our budgeting process. Which we know isn't the case. We know that there are revenue challenges, but we did want to spend some time making sure that both everyone at this table is on the same page, and then also the public, as well as really informed about like our, how the budget happens. That of course we legally are required to pass a balanced budget, and we, this body always has. And I'm grateful that Christy can spend some time adding kind of detail and color to that. Counselor Dr. Wright, did you have any other?
I don't know about you all, but I got a number of inquiries after that meeting and then the subsequent media reports. Some rather angry individuals thinking that, we're not keeping up our fiduciary responsibilities. I know
We do
that,
want the public to trust.
yeah, I know that,
didn't go to that.
I know that we are. It made me wonder that maybe people don't know that by state statute, we are required to have balanced budgets every year. That we have a rainy day fund and an economic reserve fund. None of that kind of came up in that conversation. And so when the headline was like, City of Tulsa auditor finds that we're dipping into savings to just meet budgeted obligations, I thought, whoa, something's wrong, because if we were to dip into savings, we would have taken action on the rainy day fund or the economic stabilization fund. So I thought it would be good to just have that conversation about what we have in place, what we're obligated to do by law, outside of ourselves as lawmakers, and the steps that we've put in place over the years to make sure that we don't run into this thing. We're obviously having an ongoing philosophical discussion about unappropriated, unexpended fund balances, and should they be utilized? If so, how can they be utilized? Some of you weren't here last week, but we had $1 million request to move unappropriated and unexpended fund balance. And I was like, oh, so if we do it in the middle of the fiscal year, that's fine, just not at the end. So I'm trying to figure out like what we're doing. But I also just did want to have a conversation here to provide clarity to the public, to media partners, because I think it wasn't even an audit, it was like a special project of the auditor's office, but the headline was, auditor finds this $15 million discrepancy. And I've had a lot of explaining to do, and I wanted to make sure that we all have the same information at the same time. So thank you for being here to talk with us.
Sure. So I was given a few questions to answer, but then also Sarah asked me to kind of touch on a fiscal health report that I done for the audit committee just last month. So those are the slides I have prepared. Big topic has, it has our budget met the legal requirement. Can the city run a deficit budget? That's kind of been, I think I saw that in one of the highlights once. And we cannot have a deficit budget. The city's budget expenses cannot be more than the resources, but the resources would include the use of fund balance, and we sometimes do use fund balance in balancing our budget. And this meets all of the rules as far as having a balanced budget. So we don't print any money to balance our budget. but we have some fund balance that we do sometimes use. And so then I think that kind of brings to like maybe the confusion, like a deficit budget versus deficit spending. And so deficit spending is when you need to dip into your fund balance to balance the budget. And I would call that a structurally imbalanced budget, and that is a little bit what we have. We are spending more than we are bringing in. Of course, a best practice would be to have a structurally balanced budget. And long-term, the use of fund balance is not practical. So I was also asked about unreserved and unrestricted fund balance, unappropriated fund balance. Just to kind of start, where does it come from? Well, it comes from prior years where revenues have exceeded expenses, and so that's how it accumulates. Unreserved fund balance, when we hold it, it provides stability. If our revenues fall below our projections, it provides that cushion there, particularly when we don't meet the requirements of dipping into the rainy day fund. Also, if we have unexpected expenses that came up that weren't budgeted, this will allow us to appropriate from there when we cannot dip into other buckets of money. So it's reasonable to use some of your unreserved fund balance for one-time expenses, and but we should hold some of that to kind of provide that stability. Just kind of talking about what we see as the most appropriate use of fund balance. Using it for ongoing expenses, it's not inappropriate, but it's just not sustainable. So we do need to look to balance our budget. Some of the one-time uses that we find to be the best match for use of fund balance is something that's truly a one-time, like if you need to do a study. I think we've done a staffing study, and that's a one-time cost. It doesn't continue in the second year. Sometimes if we do a software system implementation, the cost of implementing that system is one time. Of course, the ongoing subscription fees for that software is an ongoing expense, but the initial start, that extra cost, that's a one time. And we can spend it on capital, that's often considered one time, and will often reduce your operating costs if you have like a newer vehicle versus an older vehicle. And then another item I listed was a pilot program. If it's truly a pilot program, that would be considered one time, but if we do intend to continue it going forward, then it would not be one time. It's also asked about how we ensure fiscal stability. We have various methods here. First, we have budget policies. We include these in the budget book, and they cover things from strategic planning to doing best practices and meeting the Oklahoma Municipal Budget Act. We also do conservative budgeting. We're not too aggressive on our revenue projections, and we try to ensure that we've included all of the expenses that we know about when we project our expenses. We maintain reserves. Those might be the emergency operating reserve, the rainy day fund, but even unreserved fund balance to some degree is considered a reserve. We do budget monitoring. I have another slide on that to go over in detail, but we do that throughout the year. And we also monitor economic conditions. So the budget monitoring is really a citywide as far as who's doing it. The finance department does it through the budget division. We're looking at this budget across the whole city. Department heads are monitoring their own budgets as well. The mayor's office gets information from us on how things are performing, and also the council is as well. On a monthly basis is probably the most common reporting out of how the budget monitoring is happening. The small budget group meets for council, so they're getting a report monthly. That's also going to the city administrator. The sales and use tax memo goes out monthly to the mayor and the city administrator and some others. And then we have standard system reports that do comparisons of budget to actual that would help flag. And so those could be used by various departments. Also, departments can just use our enterprise system to see how they're doing on their budget. So that's how some of the monitoring is going. I was also asked about mid-year budget actions. So during the monitoring, we might note that a department's going to need more funds. Something has happened in their operations that'll cause that. And so we can do a budget amendment in a couple different ways. And One way is that we might identify other departments that are not going to spend all their funds. If something's happened that there'll be excess. And so we might move funds from one department to another, or we could appropriate from unreserved, unappropriated fund balance. So that covers most of the questions. The next section I have kind of goes over some of the highlights that I had in my fiscal health report to the audit committee. So I talked about our general fund emergency operating reserve. Ordinance establishes it at 10% as the goal. We're currently at 9.9%. And that is after we pulled from it for the Father's Day store, we pulled from it in 2023. And so we've made great progress in getting it back up to 10%. Just as a reminder, that draw was about 14.6 million, and it was close to 50% of the reserve, 46%, I think. So I feel good that we're making progress on restoring that, and then we'll have those funds when we have a disaster and need them. The next reserve I want to talk about is the Economic Stabilization Reserve, also known as the Rainy Day Fund. This is established by charter. It has a dedicated sales tax that is producing about $5 million annually to be added to this. We're limited in when we can draw from this. We haven't had to draw from it since this fund has been created. But generally, we'd be able to reach into it in periods of declining revenue. And so what we have right now, a balance of about $23 million. While that's not a huge number, over time it could really accumulate, which will help us in a prolonged economic downturn. The amount that we have right now would help us somewhat, but certainly not in a long or major downturn. And prior to establishing this sales tax funding, we only had about $3 million, and that was transferred into this fund. I also talked about revenue a little bit with the audit committee and talked about the impact on TIFs, on sales tax. So we have 10 active sales tax districts for TIFs. For the general fund, they're going to have an impact of $2.2 million in the current fiscal year. As TIFs mature, the revenue that they generate is more. And so when we create a TIF, those funds go back into the TIF district instead of going to the general fund. So while they do produce economic development, they are funded from the general fund, and sometimes we need to look at finding other funding mechanisms. So it's $2.2 million in this fiscal year. Last year it was $860,000. If you go back a couple of years, it would have been in the low couple to 200 to 300,000. So just kind of seeing that growth as those mature and bringing on new TIFs. I also talked about the use tax. We have a trend here that's just a little unusual. We've always seen use tax really perform well, overperform on our budget, increase year over year. Since June, we've seen a decline. And that, I don't have October in here, but October also showed a decline similar. I have the little graphics for tariffs. Maybe it's related to tariffs, but maybe it's something more than that. We're seeing that that is a trend that we see statewide. Online sales, oil and gas industry. So we certainly see that and are watching that trend.
What is oil and gas industry have to do with it? Did you say oil and gas?
I did,
Okay.
just because like they'll buy things and that might have some use tax associated with it. So when there's a downturn for
Okay.
oil and gas, it can cause a reduction in our, yeah.
There's not that much use tax for a lot of other things, but that's one of the bigger ones, and the rest is like mostly retail. Like, I'm just trying to think of the combo of use
So
versus
the industry's
retail.
not purchasing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite varied on what use tax it's made up of. But that's some of what we believe we're seeing in the decline.
Purchasing's down in that industry.
Yeah. Also on cost considerations that I talked with the audit committee, I think you guys are just well aware of these, but housing and homelessness is a significant priority for the city. We have IOT3 money helping fund housing coming soon. But on the homelessness, we have been using ARPA funds and many other types of funds. And so as those funds are depleted and they're one time, that we'll have that as a challenge going forward on how we plan to fund homelessness activities. And then we have the ending of the COVID era grants, which we know that currently we have several positions at municipal courts and some programs funded there, as well as some other programs and positions. But namely, municipal courts be the largest of that. A couple other cost considerations. Employee compensation. We had some small raises last year, but in this FY26 budget, we didn't have any raises. This creates challenges in attracting and retaining employees. And with CPI at about 2.9% as of August for year over year, they are obviously noticing when they don't have any compensation increases. So that'll be a challenge. And then the structural imbalance that we have with the general fund will always just be one of those limiting factors in our ability to do things that we want to do and provide compensation increases or higher positions that were previously grant funded. So that's just some of our cost consideration issues. I did want to, I had one economic context slide, and it's the crude oil price. This is over the past 2 years. When I did this slide, I think it had August as the last number. And you can kind of see that decline and how that's going to impact the statewide economy. So we are watching that. I believe we're under $60 a barrel as of today. And then kind of as a summary maybe, I want to talk about our credit rating. We have 2 credit rating agencies that have rated our credit as we went out for debt. S&P Global and Moody's both issued very high credit ratings. These ratings are no change from what they had previously issued, and they also considered us stable. So I found that to be very good, and I think it's good to kind of see someone outside the city rating us. And then the one thing that they did caution, particularly with Moody's when we had conversations with them, was to be watching our use of fund balance. And so they do see that as a challenge, and obviously we do too. And so they just discussed that with us and note that, you know, if we continue that trend, if we have actual use of fund balance year over year, that they'll consider whether that would lead to a downgrade.
Alrighty. Okay, I have a couple questions.
So, the rainy day fund, is that get interest?
Yes.
And how do we calculate the interest rates? Is it based on the federal?
So we pool all the city's assets together and invest those, and then we allocate that out among the different funds based on their daily cash value. So however we have them invested, and whatever rate those underlying investments are earning is what it's getting.
Okay, and then what was the last use of those rainy day funds? I'm just curious as to the last time those were accessed.
So since the sales tax has been created, we have not dipped into that.
Okay.
So we have to have like a downturn, a decrease in our revenue year over year expected.
There's a trigger though.
There's a trigger, there's an official trigger, and I've definitely oversimplified it, but,
How many quarters?
Yeah.
oh, I don't think it's number of quarters,
I
it's
thought it
year
was
over
in
year.
quarters.
Projected year over year.
Year over year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it has to extend more than just a year.
But then we have the emergency reserve fund, which
For
that
disasters.
graph you had where it dipped down on 2023, right?
Yes.
Where we had to dip into
For the
it.
Well, that
Father's Day
was
storm.
for the Father's Day
Yeah.
storm, yeah, okay.
But what was concerning with media reports about what happened here a few weeks ago is that we've gone into our savings to, you know,
Okay.
shore
Well,
up our upside down budget, which
Right.
is, I mean, we can have a discussion about the
I know we know
structural
there's like
imbalance,
inherent
but.
structural challenges for municipalities.
But it was,
in general, yeah.
to me, it was raising alarm bells in a way that we just saw,
Yeah,
there's no cause for alarm, we need to be proactive and.
Yeah,
thoughtful.
and I appreciate the distinguishing between that, the rainy day and emergency. I
absolutely.
don't know that people understand that there's that distinguished delineation there. And then I was looking at who pays for use tax within Oklahoma. And it looks like anything purchased out of state is going to be subject to use tax. And so that makes me wonder, whenever you're buying something on vacation out of state or whatever, and you're bringing it back, is that like stuff you have to claim?
No, it's just like internet sales.
There was a time where the state was not collecting those. It was
Well,
not
Yeah, I
too
remember-
long ago.
not very long- I know, I remember when they added that onto
2018.
Amazon.
They finally started like
Okay.
from Amazon, eBay.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew
We were
that,
a little
but
belated.
I'm looking here and it says
Massive
purchases
amounts of
made
money
while
to see.
traveling.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
buy an item in a state with a lower sales tax rate or no tax rate and bring it back to Oklahoma, that's subject to use tax.
But that's like when you're like here and it's coming, like,
Well, it
No,
literally
having trouble
says,
describing it like with the internet or like, yeah.
well, it literally says purchases made while traveling.
I
So,
think on your tax preparation form,
Yeah,
you're
you're
supposed to
supposed to
do a
Well, let's
report.
pretend we all do
Yeah.
that then.
Or there's like
Oh,
a
I'm
formula
sure we do.
based on your income.
I spent $50 at the gift shop.
Yes.
In
Well,
Texas.
you could see business operators,
I
right,
already
go to
paid
a
tax.
sales tax free state or something.
Yeah.
It's in your tax preparation.
right.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
thank you for helping us also highlight career point. To me, it was wanting to make sure that we were just kind of clarifying some of these things, acknowledging that those headlines, again, I want people to be able to trust that we're doing things legally and appropriately, and that, like, when we can acknowledge some of these longer-term structural kind of revenue-based challenges, it's not the same as us actually having misbudgeted in an irresponsible way, which I think is what came across in headlines from people who just aren't in these kinds of weeds, which is understandable.
Okay, Counselor Lincoln.
Yeah, just one quick thing, on the rainy day fund, even when we can't tap it, we can only tap half of it at a time, so, you know, we may have, what'd you say, 25 million in it?
23.
Yeah, 23 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so if we ever had to tap it, which I hope we never, ever, ever have to tap it, you can only get a certain amount out under those certain conditions. So you showed us two graphs up there. Do you have a graph showing what the current balance of the unallocated fund balance is and how that's changed over the last 10 years? Kind of when inputs
Yeah, I haven't-
have been added and when,
I don't have a graph like that.
can we make one?
I could probably make one.
Okay. I think it'd be helpful so that we can see what the balance is currently, when we've increased that fund balance, in which fiscal years or on about which dates, and then when we pulled from that fund balance, because it does show that we're adding to it significantly, and there's been no media stories about the years where we have added to it so that we could have it when we needed to draw from it. And it's just as important to celebrate when we're able to add to it, and then be aware of what the balance is and what it looks like versus what it is at a particular point in time, I think. Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to add on the pulling from the rainy day fund, that we're looking, the trigger is based on actual year-over-year decline as opposed to just not meeting budget projections. So some people might think that if you don't meet your budget projection, that you might be able to pull from it, but really we'd be looking at a comparison of the prior year. Just a little point of, like a little detail. It's not going to be we're not gonna easily meet the requirements of pulling from it.
It has to be a true emergency.
So would that be similar to what happened in Detroit a few years ago with the abandonment of the city in general?
Well, they
and
just went to like bank, like,
They couldn't make budget and.
they were just bankrupt.
Yeah. Bankrupt, okay. I was just.
We're not,
wondering.
yeah.
All righty. Any further
Oh,
questions?
yeah, I do. I had a fund balance question too, so I think if we could get that report, that would be clarifying. On the one-time expenses, this kind of goes back to the conversation we had earlier today, would an appropriate use be required match dollars on private funds?
Would that be an appropriate use of funds?
A one-time use?
Sure.
Okay, we're just talking about how we fund all the things, so I just thought I'd ask it.
I will, just like maybe a caveat is you have to consider like how much fund balance should you hold, you know, for those, you know, unexpected expenses, or if your revenues don't meet projections, or just what you're, you know, kind of gotta look at the balance as a whole. Right now, we have ongoing use of fund balance to meet operations, and until we get a little more structurally balanced, should we pull anything from the unreserved fund balance for, you know, things that we don't have to do.
Oh,
Wishes versus.
I mean, you all weren't here earlier, but we were having a conversation about HUD is looking for a one-to-one match, and we were just like talking about what are the sources and uses of meeting that match. And then, is it accurate to say the unexpected expenses for the most part tend to be staffing overtime on an annual basis?
I think more recently, I think that's what we've heard.
So we plan as well as we can to predict what the overtime might be, but obviously, at least in the 7 years I've been on council, maybe I won't curse this year, but we've had some sort of natural disaster hit our community that all of a sudden requires 24/7 increase in staffing, or, you know, in the case of the pandemic, we had whole groups of people out with illness, which then, right? So hopefully we get into some uneventful times where we don't have those things going on, but, and obviously, like Counselor Lake and Counselor Gilbert might have had a different experience before 2019 on what the year-end expenses were and needing to allocate those funds. So throughout the year, we're also moving those dollars. So there's kind of that year-end moment, which really grabs a lot of attention because it's a big pot of money, but just throughout the year, we're doing those moves too. And the way we've been talking about this in the last year has caused me to bristle a bit, because it's come across like we've been doing something wrong. And I think it's more of like a discussion on like, how can we sustain this? What makes it more sustainable, less sustainable? I wrote down spending more than we bring in and not practically using fund balances. But I think for at least 10 years, we've been using fund balances. So I think we just have to have like a bigger discussion off and on, last 10 years. You know, when is it? Is it for this overtime issue? Is it for an acceleration of materials, right? If tariffs or things hit that we couldn't plan for, but we still have the projects coming on. So I would like for us to kind of get past the conversation of who's doing something wrong and move into a conversation of how do we make it more sustainable, more stable, more strategic. That's why I hope we go as we enter into our next budget cycle, starting with this retreat.
I think that new chart will help us
Yeah.
too, and then we can easily monitor it.
Yeah.
And we can see where we've been. If the numbers that you sent me paint a picture, then happy with the picture that it painted.
Yeah. Looks quite responsible.
And I think the citizens appreciate that too.
Sure.
That accountability and transparency.
I always do remind folks that we have a city attorney and a whole department of legal minds that do not let us make any moves ever without sound legal advice. I sometimes think, you know, the rhetoric is just like, you guys just do whatever you want when you get up there, and it's like, we have 18 layers of oversight truly, from public volunteers on the sales tax overview committee to like an attorney that sits with us in every meeting to, you know, CPAs and very skilled financial advisors. So we show up as a voice of the community that elects us to be at this table, which means you might have 2 degrees in music like I do, and then you learn about the rest of this stuff. But we have very expert people all around us, and so it does, it's a little upsetting sometimes when, you know, just the headline is making it look like we just get up here and do whatever we want, because I have not experienced that to date.
I wonder if it would be helpful to post something to that effect on the city.
I mean, I think this presentation was helpful.
It
with
was,
these-
but not everybody's gonna watch it
Yeah.
and see it. But I think it would be great to have something like that as public.
Mhm.
I think we have media here that's going to be writing about it.
Yeah.
Kevin's got it.
Or just even, maybe an ongoing like education, like, did you know that we have a rainy day fund, and to date, we've never
And I
actually
think
used
we've always,
it?
through council communications, I think there's been really good communication when we're doing the budget process about what the process is and how those steps are. But per your point, we could do a little bit more on just this is what we're like tasked with doing legally, and this is what happens.
And some of the
I think
names
that-
of things, like unexpended, unappropriated fund balance versus rainy day fund
It's
versus
wording.
emergency reserve
Yeah.
fund.
It's wording.
What
Yeah.
it can be
It's
used for
confusing.
and how, I mean, most of us, if you have a savings account, you're doing better than most Americans. And then, right, so,
I wonder if we could get Nathan to sort of pass that information on as well.
yeah, or we can use our comms people,
Yeah.
I think. We do kind of
The
civics
auditor.
101 educative
Yeah.
videos and things, so as we're starting our budget process November 7th, really, with the retreat, so it'd be a good time to talk about it in just an ongoing basis.
I agree. Any further questions, comments before I move on? All right, moving on to item number 6.
Thank you.
Thank you. She's a now member. Discussion with representatives from city administration on the Public Safety Center project, including project scope, budget, and anticipated construction and transition timelines. Here we have at the table.
Oh, Commissioner.
Commissioner Roberts, come on down.
I know it is, that's why I said, let me make you
Is this
some.
Christie's?
Oh,
It
yes.
is Christie's.
Okay, I know where to find it. Here, I'll write it out. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you.
What a great day to talk about the Family Safety Center and the Public Safety Center.
Two separate things.
I know, but they're both safety centers.
Yes.
And they're both leaving the same facility. Yay.
Well, if you want to start on a positive note, the Family Safety Center is almost done.
Yes.
Oh, we had
Yeah, we had
Suzanne
it
here
earlier
earlier
Meant to
today.
add.
Yeah.
So that's a
They
good
moved
note
that
to start
quick.
on.
I agree.
Well, get us to the bad news.
Yep.
I'm going to quote you in just a little bit.
Okay.
I wrote it down, because you talked about wishes versus needs, and I
Yep.
think that that's going to come into a lot of the conversation that we're having right now. So, currently, we are in the final design phase. So the past, almost full calendar year since purchase, it's been in the design phase. We have had different budgets, different designs kind of come in with different costing estimates. I didn't get involved in this project until about 3 or 4 months ago, because some of those were astronomically high. When we kind of dove into that, we asked the designers to go back and make some different adjustments in the way that they were preparing things. Like when we bought this, it has all the furniture in it. We bought it with the furniture, we bought it with the demountable partitions, expected to use those. Some of the pricing didn't include that because there was a very Taj Mahal kind of approach to this of, let's ask for the moon. So we've trimmed it down. There are some very significant things that we are waiting on right now that we should know in the next 2 or 3 weeks that will give us clear direction on the actual numbers of the build. We know that there are going to be 2 phases to this, simply because of the budget. There's about a $15.5 million remaining balance to do the renovations.
How much?
$15.5 million.
Okay.
And so we've had to do this in 2 different phases. Because of the convention center hotel, the priority is to get what's been called the civic center portion out. So that's the police department, the backup 911, things that are located at 600 Civic Center that are going to the public safety center. And then the fire headquarters and TEMA are in that first phase movement as well out to the building. Things like Arctic, the Mingo Valley Division, City Medical, some of the investigative units and their special attachments like an auto theft. So there's not gonna be a garage. That's all part of phase 2. Records is in phase 1. That's part of the priority of moving out of that building as well. So, if, as it's budgeted now, if, part of our obstacle, big challenges that we've had on this is that it was built in the 1980s as an insurance call center. Building codes have changed since then,
And because we are using it as a public safety center, we have to have certain boxes checked to meet code. The big ticket items that we're waiting on are a $2.8 million curtain wall, whether or not we have to reinforce the exterior and the glass portion of the building. That was tested last week, and we should have an answer on that within the next 2 weeks. The second portion is a storm shelter. Because of the number of occupants that could be in the building at any given time, based on total occupancy. So if we've got Mingo Valley out there, that increases our number substantially, right? So initially, during the design phase, this was planned and priced for 740 occupants at 5,000 square feet to the tone of $3.75 million. So that is a moving target based on what our codes are gonna look like, on the number of folks in the building and the phase of movement. So we're waiting on those different proposals to come in. And the last, there's backup generators, and whether we have to purchase those or we can put them on a trailer, kind of the talking points on that, but that comes in at a cost of $5.5 million.
This is outside the 15.5.
This is inclusive of the 15.5.
Okay.
Which gets us right around 10.3, 10.5, something like that. So obviously that would leave us $4.5 million. If we are required to build all of these at that highest point, to get us to code, which is we have to have code, like we have to build this to code. So, outside of those dollar figures, $15 million is the cost estimates for getting phase one moved in outside of this. So it's a potential that we could need $25 million to get into it. Now, I went last week and I did a walkthrough with the design team, with Flint Code, with the construction team, with Mary from the city, with all the vested entities. Police department had someone there, fire department had someone there. And I'm a visual person, needed to get eyes on, needed to talk about what this looks like. I don't know if clear expectations have been set at the top. Obviously fire needs certain things in the building for decon and their needs. Same with police, same with records. And so because I wasn't part of the project, didn't know if that'd been clearly communicated. So getting out there, walking around, saying this is where we need hard walls, this is where we can use demountable partitions. We can take a bathroom out of there, we don't need it. We don't need that elevator, we don't need this in the parking lot. So having that and those conversations about what we have to have, what we should have, and what we want to have, were made very clear to the design team. Flint was there to hear it, like I said. So waiting on some of those cost adjustments to come for a real, very feasible, design. Once we can get that approved, then it will go to Flint Code for costing for 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a real target of what this is gonna cost us. Worst case scenario, $25 million to get us into phase one, and another $15 million for phase two.
Outside this
So
15.5.
40 million plus the 15, right?
Or less than 15.
Total 40, so we
Phase
could.
one.
Phase one
No,
could
but
be.
you said we have
Right.
15.5 to do renos.
Right.
Right now,
So is the
that's
40?
phase one.
The 40's on top of the 15.
No.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry, no.
inclusive.
So it'd be
Okay.
So the gap
total.
is-
The gap is 25 million.
Okay.
Could potentially be,
At the top.
to get it where we wanted it when we purchased it.
But that's just phase one, not phase two.
That's total,
Oh, total.
total move-in.
So that would be
We
phase
could be
one
at a
and two.
$10.5 million gap to get us into phase one.
So 10.5 to 25 is what we're looking at.
And what I have asked from the design team as well is give me an à la carte pricing, right? How much would it take, because we've got this space. So how much would it take if we put just city medical in there? And so we can kind of customize it a little bit based on what our numbers look like. and the priorities that we need to move out there. Obviously, Mingo Valley's in a building. I don't know what the priority to move them out.
Well, the justification was that building needs renovation, so move them into the newer building.
Aren't
and
we leasing?
surplus or sell it or whatever.
Yeah, we own that piece of
We own
garbage.
Mingo?
But it needs,
Yeah, we own it.
it needs renovations,
Yeah.
Yeah, have you been in there?
We lease the city
Several
medical building.
times.
Yeah.
which also,
So,
it's supposed to be a cost savings to get all of them consolidated in one building.
So, yeah, these are really good numbers, and I appreciate that. I guess they're a little confusing initially, but
Yes.
what does it cost each, I don't want to say venue, City Medical, Mingo Valley? Do we have a breakdown of what each?
No, that's the à la carte pricing that we've asked for.
Know what they're costing us now to like lease City
Oh,
Medical and Mingo Valley?
I don't know what the lease.
Because there'll be a cost savings realized, right, when we move them?
Could be, yes.
Or like, you can take those dollars and put them over there.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah, and then, of course, what each one has come up with as far as the total moving cost to get in there. You know, I mean, if we're talking an aggregate of what it's gonna cost in general, do we have the breakdown for each department? That's,
Isn't that put
That's,
phases?
that's,
That's the
well,
phasing.
That's the
the
phasing.
phases and then
Okay.
like, we call it the à la carte, right? Not the buffet style,
Yeah.
but, so we can kind of customize what our,
Right.
our needs are,
Right.
right? And we know that, you know, Tima's got a space occupied, but there's obviously some discussions going through with the county about what the future of that looks like.
For
So
sure.
there might be some modification of needs on that, and so there's.
Was there not, help me remember, I thought EMSA or a piece, the medical, office of the
O&D
medical
was
director or
supposed to
something
be
was supposed to
moving out
also
there.
go there?
I haven't seen.
To create that separation.
Yeah, but that could be also a revenue source too,
Yeah.
right? Like a sub,
Yep, like a
I
lease.
haven't seen that in any of the drawings. The only IMSA component is that there's a
I
backup.
think that was only a discussion, that I don't think it was
like
ever.
an idea, if there
I
was
don't think it-
space.
I don't think O&D that I know of ever went and talked to asset management or anybody like that to actually move.
Well, that was part of our discussion.
It was.
It certainly was. There were
At this table.
TIMA, TPD, TFD, City Medical, and there was even discussion that City Medical was coming here. right?
Potentially.
Yep. So that's kind of what is a little bit irritating about this. Sorry.
no, that's
are you
okay, I'm glad that you're.
That's kind of what's a
you're taking
little
your comment
irritating about
space.
this whole thing, is this felt like, and I said this previously, this felt like it was sold to us as a turnkey operation, right? And so when we toured that building, it's very nice, very opulent, and it was told to us this was maintained as if it was occupied, right? And so we weren't told about all these structural needs.
I knew there'd be like
I don't know if
normal
these were
building.
Taking
changes.
down elevators and
Yeah,
stuff,
I
yeah.
didn't know, none of this was said. It was basically presented as just minor engineering changes
move in.
internally of moving walls and things to create spaces. I keep hearing things through the rumor mill, not told to me directly by anybody. But I keep hearing these rumor mills of Mingo Valley's in, Mingo Valley's out. I'm like, look, we need to find a plan, stick with it, and stop changing it. And that's what, I'm gonna be frank, this pisses me off, because I felt like we had a good plan, and now I feel like we're just going in circles, and,
Or I felt like there were efficiencies there, now it
yeah,
feels like
now
they're
it's just,
not. Okay.
it's just nonsense.
Well, and to be fair, the commissioner came in,
You
Yeah,
inherited
it's
the
not
project.
direct.
you inherited
I
the
understand
project,
that.
You know
but,
that.
I do.
but
Thank you
this
for
came
clarifying
in
them.
from asset management saying it would be a consolidation, we would have a cost savings on this
Right.
side, so therefore it makes sense, right? Because when we were putting the package together, we were looking at costing out of like
A new bill.
we're at Mingo Valley doing a
Yep.
lot of upgrades.
Yep.
So then it was like, would it make more sense to just bring them into this facility? And that's what we were told, like, that'll be a cost savings. We toured City Medical and saw that we were leasing a building that's inadequate.
Yep.
And
Same with
I do
fire,
remember the
yeah, all
conversation
these.
about fifth floor's open, should they come here, all of that. So I'm with Counselor Bangle. I think you and I might, at this table, be the only ones that were involved
I
in
am
those
so
discussions.
frustrated with this
I would-
project.
I would love to hear Counselor Lakin's recollection of how we got to, let's go to that location.
Oh, there you are.
There you are.
But I'm
say the
still
name.
okay. I am still okay with the project
Just say
because
the
if we
name
had
and
to
the address.
build.
For 'em again?
No, we're talking about Public Safety Center and how it was supposed to be turnkey and all
And
these
it's
different
not.
entities were just gonna move in, and what we just heard from the commissioners, we're anywhere from $10 to $25 million out from being able to move in.
That was a shocking number to me, too.
And I wanna say, we are committed to stretching the dollars as far as we
No,
can stretch
of
it.
course.
That's what I said.
And there will be some cutting of those luxury or want items, and
Yeah.
to speak of the Mingo Valley, we've got space and our drawings, we've got space, we just don't
Yeah.
have
But as I
the
said, we
resources
would have, if
to
we'd have
renovate it.
known this up front, we could have baked this into IoT three
The
as part of the funding process. So, did
we're
these
with the
exist?
snafu.
Did these code?
I think we're struggling
upgrades
with, like, we were told this was
exist?
like the plan, and now that we're ready
Now we've
to
got to find
execute it, we have to
$25
find
million.
potentially 10 to 25.
Yeah, and I'm trying to wrap my head around things. I've said to various individuals, you know, I'd be happy just saying, hey, your division, go over there, that's your quarter of a building, just make it work, because it's far better than the facility that
Rehabbing the
they.
facilities they're in, yeah.
Yeah, so, and there's nice furniture in that facility, it's a fine facility, and I think we really did luck out securing it. So, but I haven't been part of this process that the commissioner is going through with us, and I know these things arise where you are trying to do what I just said, but there's the realities of,
Code.
yes, but we need this, and this. And those things do always crop up, it seems like, whenever you're just relocating a very small business.
Counselor Bangle and I
There's a big
recall
business.
a discussion around the Office of the Medical Director potentially officing over there. Do you remember that or no?
Yeah, well, we toured that site, we were on the bus
Yeah.
during IoT three, is that the one down on, pretty close to where the opera is? There's a building right next to the
Well,
opera.
that's Dr. Barry's, where
Oh, yeah,
No, we're
oh, sorry,
talking about
yeah,
Dr.
but is City
Goodlow.
Medical going out there too, or
they're
not?
supposed to.
Yeah, yes, and we did talk.
We talked about Dr.
About the Office of the
Goodlow going
Medical
over
Director.
there, so
But
I
that
guess
would
it
be a
never
s-
made it into minutes,
I've
but-
not heard that conversation, and I've not seen it anywhere in
Yeah.
the drawing. It may be located within City Medical.
I don't think so, but anyway.
We definitely 100% talked about it a few times.
Yeah, because I remember there was discussion either out there or in here.
Yeah.
For city medical.
Could have been during the tour when we were
Anyway, just
standing
something
up
to
there.
look into
Yeah.
in terms of another partner in the building. Since the TAMA thing is now a changed concept of when we originally had the discussion.
Yeah.
Is there any thought, how do I ask this question? If we have to come up with $10 to $25 million, do we still proceed with the phased plan? Or like, right, because going back to Civic Center, like, it's move this to do that.
I
kind
don't
of-
want to get into a sunk cost fallacy here,
But-
and
but-
what else are we gonna do?
At this point,
They have a very specific timeline on the hotel, right? Which is pushing all of us to move.
yes, and that's part of the urgency.
Right.
And that is,
What is that timeline?
I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm trying to get at. I think it was a year ago.
Do you know?
29.
Yeah, it's the.
No,
we're-
opening by 29.
I think
but,
we were
yeah,
originally supposed to be out of there a
ground-
year ago.
groundbreaking
Oh, yeah.
next
Yeah,
year would be
it's-
fine.
Yeah, so,
Originally, it was March of '27 was the plan to get that completely moved out and available. And I'm not in those discussions. There might be some flexibility to that now.
Yeah.
So I know.
there's kind of like a three-way move, right? It's like,
Mhm.
get them into Public Safety Center, find a municipal court, so
Right.
then the hotel can happen. But it might be good if each of you project managers on the individual ones could maybe have a collaborative discussion, because we're over here trying to figure out, I'm sure municipal court has dollars, I'm sure the hotel thing has dollars, and we're all here gonna be asked to come up with them, so.
And there's a very real potential that we don't do the curtain wall, that we really downsize the storm shelter, because there is some reinforcement in TEMA, so how do you make that? And then there's,
When we toured it though, wasn't there like a downstairs
That's what I
space that
asked. I
was?
thought that was like an
Yeah.
F5 rated room.
Yeah, wasn't, I thought that was like part of the
Right in the middle of
cafeteria.
the
I had
building.
this
But are you saying there's not
conversation.
enough space for the 750
people.
people? Because if Mingo Valley comes in, then there's like a ratio.
But that thing, right,
We were in that basement though, I was
The
like.
Domingo Valley Division.
Was that part
like if
of
an
the cafeteria thing
EF1
was,
comes
like the
through right now,
industrial
that
grade?
thing is gone, right?
Yes, I think she was
Oh, okay, I'm
talking
sorry,
about when
right.
you're all in one building. Something
But I
about
know we're
those
not-
storm
Building code.
shelters,
Gotta be
yeah.
code.
And it-
Code.
right, based
It's
on
new
the
codes.
occupancy is how big, the potential occupancy of the building is how big the storm
To
shelter has to
accommodate.
be.
Are we required to build storm shelters?
Yeah, because it's a public safety center, so we have to build it at ICC 500 or level 4.
You don't want the fire marshal coming out.
No, you don't.
Citation.
Coming down the elevator to
That'd
say,
be
this floor is
embarrassing
not,
for
you
It's gonna be funny when the fire marshal doesn't give us a permit to occupy the building.
know, where his office will be located.
Just keep them.
So, you said 3 to 4 weeks until we know if
22.
it's 10 or 25.
We'll have a much better idea once we get some of these evaluations in. Yeah, they tested the curtain wall last week. so.
The total is 40 million, but we have 15.5 currently.
To get it completely moved in.
And that's Mingo Valley and all of
Is
it.
there kind of a phased plan of,
Yeah.
we would want, like, per your point, because it could be, we might be able to find pieces of this different years, year over year. Is there like a phased concept of this department could move in at this, like, is there a timeline for that that could actually make this more I'm just thinking of the
Like some
feasibility there.
phases?
Yeah.
So
Or it's like we're
everything
able
in
to do-
phase 1 has the priority.
But are they all going at the same time?
No.
Okay, I think that's what she's
Yeah,
asking.
sorry, yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking of then if that, those different parts of build outs.
Right.
Or
Or I
is the-
think the priority would be moving TPD headquarters.
Correct.
Because
records.
TFD is not even in where the convention center is,
Yeah.
they're way away. So just getting TPD out of there so
And then
that,
probably City Medical, so we don't have to lease that building anymore.
yeah.
Because when we did that tour, there was this, not only are we leasing a building, but this building needs, remember they showed us the records and,
Black molds.
well, even how the
Yeah.
records
That
were being
cone on the
stored
ceiling,
and things, and so
funneling
there was
down
a
into a
cost
bucket.
associated with like, if we continue to lease this building, we have to do X amount of dollars of improvements. To which we were all like, that doesn't make sense. So, could you help us, not now, but maybe in an after email or something, just kind of break out that phase 1 in terms of 3
Absolutely.
months, or we start the process with the very first department to go and like where we would end up,
Right.
because.
And, right, I think we'll have that after Flint
Yeah.
Co. gives us a final cost. After final
Yeah.
design, and then we get final costs from Flint Co., then we'll have.
And can you explain what the curtain wall is again? That was 2.8 million.
So the exterior of the wall is glass on a lot of the building.
Okay.
And we don't know if that glass is rated to meet the code. So what they would do is they would take the glass out and put a reinforced glass that meets code.
So it sounds very costly.
Winds up to 200 miles an hour or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Yep.
yes.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Schools were looking at that too.
Counselor.
One quick question?
Yes.
Because I know we're past 4 o'clock already. Okay, so we're renovating a building. So any renovation of any building that is used for public safety requires it to be upgraded to this ISO 400?
ICC 500, yes.
Okay. So if we were to renovate Mingo Valley Division,
We would have to do
We
it.
would have
Current
to-
code, correct.
All
do
the
we
other
have to
divisions.
renovate to the current code?
Yes,
Or-
Yeah.
yes.
Which is, I think, part of why we said, let's put them all in one upgraded facility.
Yeah.
Which is why we went
I
to
don't
find
know.
one this big.
This is one thing that I don't ever remember hearing before.
Correct.
Because I don't think that was part of the discussion. So there's internal renovations, like records has to have hard walls just because of the nature of what it's storing.
Yep.
But then there's other less confidential, less secure areas that we're using the demountable partitions as much as we can. Because those are all there, or as many of them were there, we kept with the building.
Yeah.
So it's how to stretch those resources and identify where it is that we have to put the hard walls and have to do the construction. But there are codes that we have to meet.
There's
Because
a
of the
lot of
use
land
of
out there,
the
can we just build a big basement?
I don't know what that would cost.
A safe,
Well, I know,
An
but,
underground.
yeah,
Are you-
a safe
bunker.
shelter or whatever, one of
yeah,
those mobile,
versus
safe
hardening
homes or
something
safe rooms.
interior, can we just build something underground off to the, let's say,
A
the
bat cave.
east?
And we may
Is there a
get,
tunnel?
maybe we'll develop for 350 based on realized occupancy, especially if we don't move everybody out there
Yep.
at one time. So that will cut some of the cost. as well.
Well, and even thinking along that
Okay.
line, I don't know, but would the covenant even allow us to do something like that? Because that was a huge concern, was that.
So
They're in a
there is-
PUD over there.
There's a neighborhood that.
So they're basically like an HOA,
anything-
but for a business park.
Yeah,
Anything on the exterior, so parking lot, fencing, all of that has to be.
It's all underground.
Okay,
Put it all underground.
Little
It's a bat
telescope.
cave.
That's what I'm saying, Batcave.
do we have any further questions, comments? We need to move on
just
to
over.
items.
We'll just have to.
Sorry about that.
Okay, we have one more item, number 8, addendum. Ordinance amending Tulsa revised ordinances, Title 27, Penal Code, Chapter 28, titled Curfew Hours for Juveniles, amending downtown curfew hours applicable in the Central Business District, IDL, establishing a new expiration date of October 22nd, 2026, requiring quarterly reports, emergency clause. This is brought to you by Counselor Hall Harper, Ellis, and Counselor Gilbert.
So, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, so this is everything that we talked about a few weeks ago about updating the curfew ordinance that is getting ready to sunset October 22nd. And all the concerns that were brought up at the table, having those quarterly reports from the police department, along with changing the days to Friday and Saturday instead of Thursday. Also changing the sunset and keeping it, sunsetting it a year out, so.
Great.
So
This is on
extending it
for-
a year and then reviewing the data quarterly.
Yes,
Yeah.
And only doing Friday, Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and then with the hope, I think, just naming, but there's the police inside the data, but also we'll have to see about, and I think just naming this for us for budgetary purposes as well, court impacts, right? Or if there's a certain.
Oh, court.
Yeah, courts, yeah. And at some point, maybe we'll wanna follow up also with youth services or service providers about prevention items, but anyway. Yeah, I'm just happy to see the quarterly reporting embedded.
Yeah, agreed. Anybody else? No? All right, moving on to item, any further questions? On the sunset? No? Okay, moving on to item number 9, we are adjourned.